So we're recording this, and I'm sad today. Patrick may
Oh
not know
no.
exactly why I'm sad. You might have an inkling. But the last text I have from you before recording was, "I hear the Vikings won. You're from the area.
Yep.
I hear.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope you don't hold it against me. So this will be the
Yes.
shortest episode ever.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So I'm a
No,
Bengals
but
fan.
hold on. You
Yep.
should preface. You should contextualize because in the several texts before that, which was before the game,
Mm-hmm.
um, I revealed just how little attention I was paying to any of it, and how
Yep.
little attention I pay to sports in general, or
Mm-hmm.
how much I care about whether the Vikings win or lose. And so I actually you made an argument as to why the Bengals might have an edge, and I said, "Well, hey, if that's the case, I hope they win."
Yeah, and
But
to put it bluntly, the Bengals did not have an edge. The Bengals did not show up. But you know what? This is a nice, interesting kind of dovetail into. I didn't watch the game. Every Sunday morning, from around 8:30 Pacific time to about noon, I go down the street to a coffee shop and I meet my friend Russell, who's been on the show before. And we've done this for years now, and we just do planning and work. We have a working session because I work from home, and so does he. And so to be able to get out and be just in together doing stuff, and we do a catch up and stuff like that. And by virtue of that, it always happens during most Bengals games, right? Because the Bengals are in the Eastern time zone, so they normally play at 10 a.m. my time. So I would miss the game entirely, or at least a good chunk of it. In the past, I would pay to watch the Bengals games through a service, but the service has gotten so expensive. And for the only thing I get out of it, I'm like, I'm just going to watch the highlights, and I'll watch. The Bengals have gotten good enough, theoretically, to actually be on some primetime games and such. So I did not watch the game. And what was great about that, other than how painfully they lost, was I'm able to work clearly and have clarity around what I'm doing in the moment. I turn on focus mode. It's called weekly planning. So no one can reach me other than my wife and my son. And it's fascinating because if I had watched the game and then gone to work, there would have been ripples. I would not have had as clear a day as I had. But and by the way, this happens if they win too. So if they win, historically, like any kind of, because there's an emotional response to sports franchises, right?
Which affects your mood and affects your outlook and all that stuff, right?
Right. So to me, this idea of clarity, which is our topic today, is centered around, for me, I need to, even though I'm a night owl, I have to have parameters in the morning to keep me from going off course, because otherwise I'm, discombobulated for the bulk of the day. So I need, having that there. And it's so funny because I've had people say to me, your schedule, like, why do you theme? Why do you put, like, it seems very rigid. I'm like, these are really just it's scaffolding, right? It's so it allows me to move forward in a way that I'm getting the right things done, either in quantity, quality, or a combination thereof, so that I can actually deliver solid results, which the Bengals clearly did not do yesterday. I mean, this is where the calendar, and you've talked about this before, like the calendar is the thing. This is where, our ideas align there, right?
Yeah, sure. But I also I was so I sent an article along to you, and I don't know. I was kind of struck by it, and it kind of caused me to take a step back and look at what was really, really happening in my days these days, right?
Right.
Because yes. I mean, here's the wonderful thing about productivity and this kind of space that you and I have been a part of, right? This general conversation, probably for going on 2 decades now,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know, that and one of the things I've always tried to push, because especially during the heydays of 43 folders, Merlin Mann, David Allen, all of these things about here's the perfect system, and here's how you can stay on top of everything all the time, and blah 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 blah. Um and eh, you know, and this very kind of rigidness.
Mm-hmm.
Um And, you've developed your own ideas around this, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be, theming of
Mm-hmm.
various types, not just
Yep.
time theming, but it seems like mood theming. And, you cover all of this in the productivity diet, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. Um, but I all of that is to say that yes, we change, right? We grow, and especially, like, as my life has changed, right? Back when I first started, I was working a jobby job where I had, a whole bunch of various types of things I needed to keep track of in between meetings and meetings and meetings and more meetings, and various stakeholders all wanting something different from me, and all of that stuff. And yes, having a kind of very structured, systematic approach and having these ideas, these very rigid, firm things made sense for that environment and
Mm-hmm.
for my life at that point, right? I haven't had that kind of jobby job now in going on 17 years,
Right. Yeah.
right? My life is much different now and doesn't quite require that level of capture and and big P project versus next action versus this versus that. Like, all of this structured isn't necessarily required, right? And my life kind of, uh, probably resonates a little bit closer to yours, right? As an independent and someone
Mm-hmm.
who's kind of working for themselves, and maybe you have just a bit more control over what your inputs are. And so, yeah, having themes like this is kind of how I want the sorts of things I want to focus on today versus the theme for the next day or for the next week or whatever. And having those sorts of things actually works a lot better for my life right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that that would necessarily work for everybody, and you'd be the first one to say, "Hey, this is not for these are some ideas that I'm presenting, and these are things that work for me, and I think would work well for a lot of people if they encountered these ideas, but don't
Right.
think for a second that this is the prescription for you. Take take some, take all, take none, it doesn't matter. The goal here is to find something that works for you and your life as it is right now."
It's funny. Last week I had two people who are part of my membership community say they're not going to renew this time around. And they said, my life has become simpler.
Mhm,
It's not needing this kind of rigor or structure or
mhm,
and to be honest, I mean, there are obviously still elements inside the community. I have plenty of semi-retired and retired folks that are in there and are using elements, to your point, of the time crafting framework that I teach. And but there's some people who are like, you know what, I can flow through my days far more
yeah,
than
yeah,
before. And
yeah,
and and honestly, they don't need the anchor in the same way. Now, what's
yeah,
great is that I think that in that instance, it's not that they don't need the consistent, I need to see this every day. they've already gotten a lot of the stuff that I've taught. So if they need to tap back into it, they've already learned it. They've got it. They can use it in their current scenario. But it is interesting because it's you hear the term mind like water from David Allen. You mentioned Bruce
Yeah,
Lee,
yeah.
right? The idea of, be like water, right? And so the article that you shared, which we're going to link in the show notes, because I've heard,
It's
I've heard it.
the title of the article is in the New Yorker. It's called
Yeah.
"Can You Really Live One Day at a Time?"
Yeah.
And it's a really, I thought, fascinating piece, and it really, I do think, dovetails well with the sorts of things that you say
Mm-hmm.
in the productivity diet. I'm really not here just trying to sell your book, Mike, but since you refuse to do it for yourself, I'll keep mentioning it. But no, it does dovetail, I think, somewhat well with that. Not if not an exact right fit. It certainly, like, has a similar groove to
Yeah,
it, right?
they can layer one on top of each other. Like when you
They
talk,
they can they can layer.
yeah, like
Um,
so the author talks about, it's really interesting because I actually listened to the piece too. So that's the nice thing about the New Yorker. You don't have to
oh,
read it.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
listened to it. So I mean, there was one piece where AI kind of didn't say it correctly, and there's a whole other topic we could talk about down the line about AI. Maybe that'll be
Yeah.
in our next episode where we talk about trust. But Joshua Rothman talks. It's his weekly column, and he alludes to a book called Time Surfing, right? And Time
Right.
Surfing is from a gentleman named Paul Lumens, who's a Zen monk that's based in Amsterdam. Now, I think it's very common, and you can speak to this because we've both been in this field for a long time, for somebody to have been faced with just the sheer volume of the things that they need and or want to do over the course of a day, a week, a month, etc. David Allen came up with getting things done when he was facing overwhelm and was like, I need to see what's next. Merlin Mann did the 43 folders thing and also modified it for the hipster PDA because he recognized he needed to filter better, right? So there was elements of that
Right.
that would come into play. The Eisenhower matrix. How do you, I need to have this quadrant. Like, people are looking for function within form and form within function. With
Right.
time serving, the idea is that each day, like, they're waves, and you're going to surf, each of these. And I'm being reductive here, but I mean, the
With
book,
kind of how the day goes and how
yeah,
it feels, and, like, and I think in general, with the idea that, like, the important things for that time are gonna show up. They're gonna bubble up.
mm-hmm.
You're
Yep,
not gonna miss them, because they're kind of, you can feel them coming.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yep.
And it's true, right?
Yep. There's a definite tap into feeling. He also talks about in the book, especially in the article, the ways that you could, maybe you're not going to surf this, maybe you're going to dive into it, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's every day is different. And it kind of flies in the face of, like, man plans, God laughs, right? The idea of
No, but it's so true.
right,
Oh my
right.
gosh. That pretty much describes my entire week last week, in fact,
Same,
so
same.
yeah.
Monday was derailed completely.
Yeah.
Even last night, I was just having a conversation. Something happened here in the household at around 5:30 at night that changed the complexion of the entire day. And I did not, oddly enough, end up going to the ocean and seeing the waves come in. There was a calming effect. There was actually a seal that was bobbing along in the water. It was rather, I think that ultimately, when I read the article, the perspective shows up, right? The idea of
Right.
because you can't help but pause when you think about, like, well, how do I feel? How do I, like,
Yeah.
and when you take that moment to pause and
Mhm.
tap into feelings, clarity is your ally. If you're rushing ahead,
Mhm.
Like, think about a
Mhm.
surfer. Like, I mean, we live in a part of the world where there's a lot of surfing, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
darn cold up here, but there's an area called Jordan River, and it's a highly touted surfing spot. Tofino, of course, is another place here on Vancouver Island that has a lot of surfing. But you can see, if you've ever watched surfers, the way that they approach the waves. Like, if you watch it long enough, you can, even if you don't know how to surf, you're like, if they're able to ride this wave, I'd be very impressed and or
Mhm.
surprised, right? And you
Mhm.
can kind of
Mhm.
tell with the way they go into it. They can, and what's interesting about that metaphor in a kind of a counterpoint way is you have no choice once you're like, people will wait for the perfect wave, right? They'll wait, they'll
Yeah.
wait, they'll wait. You can't do that in life.
Yeah.
You can't wait. But
Yeah.
you also don't know what the perfect wave is going to look like. Like, people will
Right.
go, "Oh, this is good," and then it deceives you.
Right.
You can see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's a big one. 1, 2. Okay, that's a big one. And then you figure, okay, well, the next there'll be a 1, 2. The next one will be a big one. All of a sudden, it isn't, right?
Right.
And there's so many factors that can affect that, right? Like, when they have tsunamis in Japan, we are
Yeah.
affected over here, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just there's occasional tsunami warnings, right? Or when
Yeah.
there's an earthquake in Japan or earthquake off the shore, like, you don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the bottom line is the way that I looked at the metaphor, the kind of the way that the story is unfolding, and the way that this Zen monk Paul Lumens writes about it is you're you're in the water. Like, life is the water, and each
Your
of these
life is the
waves,
water,
and you're
and
you're
and
you're
y
you're
and
navigating them.
yeah, and you have to figure out how you're going to accept each one and what you're going to do with it when it comes, right?
Yes.
And I think that this actually does get back to the, the kind of, the topic of this episode, which is clarity, right?
Mhm.
The important thing is that you have clarity, that you're kind of clear about things. Like, the important point of, like, time theming and things like that is based in that, and based in kind of, okay, what is your energy level, right? What is your capacity? What is your, and gaining clarity about, about what's actual, and what is aspirational,
Sure.
right?
Sure. E e
And I think so many of us, when approaching productivity, are living in the aspirational,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? We there's so much we'd like to get done. We'd so much about wanting to feel productive, to feel on top of things, to feel, you're aspiring to this stuff, right? But, like, this morning, when I woke up this morning, I knew I needed to make an eye exam, an eye
Mhm.
appointment. I'm very overdue. Um, I knew that my truck could needed some service items. Certainly stuff that could wait. But I wanted to take care of pretty soon, especially now that it's kind of my daily driver, and that's a whole nother story that we don't have to get into. Um, and I knew that, like, I had this podcast recording, that's something on the calendar, on the schedule. You're relying on me, unavoidable. Um, what did I end up doing? Well, I could have called and made the eye appointment, or gone online and said, what, but the truth of the matter is I dropped my daughter off at school.
Mhm.
I at 7:20, I place opens at 7:30. It's on the way home. Yeah, I'll just stop and make the appointment.
Yeah.
Get this day started right with getting something I wanted to get done right off the list.
Yep.
Like, did I make that decision until, like, the pieces came together in my mind, and I was riding the wave of the day, and I was like, "Huh, you
Mhm.
know, I'm feeling, like, it would feel good to get this off my list." Boom, right? So I did that. Got back home, called my car place, was going through, kind of like, okay, here's all the stuff that needs to get done. I'd like to take care of these things kind of soon, you know. And he was like, "Hey, you know what? We're actually pretty light this week, surprisingly enough. We don't know why, just kind of how the things are rolling." I know you kind of weren't planning this, but do you want to just drop the truck off now? We've got a loaner.
Wow.
Okay, right? Boom. Drove down, dropped the truck off, got the car, da 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 da. Like before 9:30, like the kind of two main things I wanted to get done in the morning were done,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It, it,
And and so yeah, the I those were the waves that were coming.
Yep. Yeah. This is
And
this is reminding me of what happened last week too. Like literally, well, we've had to postpone the
yeah.
schedule because the
Yeah, yeah,
internet went
yeah,
down.
yeah, 'cause
We
your internet went
it
down,
wasn't
yeah.
just internet; it was phone T. Like all of our ISP
Like
stuff went down. So
right.
so this is what happened. I don't know if I even got to tell you this part, but
No, you didn't.
so they said that they would be here between 8 and 9 a.m. on Friday. So I get the text like 1 minute to 9. Wrap up my focus
Mhm.
fix session with my community, the Time Crafting Trust community that I run. The premium members are in these focus fix sessions. I'm like, I might have to leave early. Did not have to. It was great. I go outside and I'm waiting. 9 o'clock doesn't show up. I'm waiting. All right. Well, and I'll just start doing some of this. I have some yard work to do. I'll just putz around because I can't leave anywhere. 10 o'clock. Where is this person? So I text the TELUS, that's who our ISP is, and they get an agent to get in touch with me. That took a while. It's 10:45 before I finally am talking to someone. I'm now fully into yard work, which
Mhm.
also needed to get done, but it wasn't something I
Mhm.
was going to do until Saturday.
Yeah.
It was a nice day out, etc. Um, as I'm doing this, uh, they say we can't find the tech. We don't know where they are. They said
Oh,
that he was
no.
on. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, long story short, they have to send a different tech out and he's not going to be there. He finally gets there at noon. The
Mm.
problem gets solved. All that, it's fine. The guy actually is from near where I grew up. So we had a conversation at the end. That was the last interesting serendipitous thing because he also told us that the reason that there were issues is not, it was their problem, but also the previous person did not do a great job in terms of
Well.
making sure we're, so I'll deal with that later. But in the in between 10:45 and noon, especially in that 10:45 to 11:30 slot, I ended up getting all of the yard work done that I wanted to get done. Came up with a
Mhm.
whole new idea of how I wanted to do it.
Mm.
Moved not just all the gravel or the bulk of the gravel. I didn't get it done until later that day, but all the dirt
Mhm.
was gone. Not only that, we live on a street where there's a neighborhood coffee shop down the road, the very coffee shop that I go to on Sundays. And a gentleman walked by, and I thought I recognized him. I did not, but he waved, I waved. And then as he came back, he saw I was still working. I go, still at it, eh? We started chatting, and he's holding a book. And I said, wait, well, what are you reading? And it's called The Extinction of Experience by
Hmm.
Christine Rosen. And I'm like, this is interesting
Mhm.
stuff. I go, this is the kind of stuff I'm into. I go, do you want a copy of my book? Turns out he's a professor at one of the local colleges. He teaches some of this stuff. And
Oh,
his
interesting.
name, he takes my book and he starts chuckling. He goes, he goes, this is funny. He goes, you're Mike Vardy. He goes, my name is Michael Pardy, Pardy.
Ah!
And so we have this discussion about childhood names and what people used to say. And of course, the people used to sing, it's Mike Vardy and I'll cry if I want to. I'm like, you must have had it like full on. It's Mike Party and I'll cry if I want to.
Oh
And
my gosh, yes.
so we're going to reach out to talk in a couple of weeks. We're probably going to go grab a coffee at a different coffee shop, one closer to his place. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that would not have happened
No,
if
no.
all the yard work that got done on Saturday allowed me to go to Toy Fair with my son on Saturday and allowed me to do other things. And I would probably not have had, I may not have had that idea of like, how do I make this work? It all worked out. Mind you, I was obviously still upset that we lost like basically a prime utility, but I couldn't do a
Mhm.
lot of work here. We couldn't have recorded because by the time it came on, it was too late. But I'm like, I chose to, again, the serendipity of all of that was because
Yeah,
something didn't go according to what was scheduled, what was planned.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the idea in the productivity diet specifically is if if you have a scaffold, a framing, then you can work within it. It's nice to have a
Sure.
jumping off point.
Yeah.
But it doesn't you can't control what the day is going to necessarily turn out like,
Yeah.
and you've got to have
Yeah.
the nimble aspect to it is
Yeah.
really important. So that to me, because I recognize that, by the time the day was done, my wife came home. She goes, "How was it?" I'm like, it wasn't all that bad. Like, yeah, so it
Yeah.
changed the overall experience. And I think when you have, it's having that understanding that no matter
Mhm.
how much you say, okay, well, this is when this is going to happen, and this is when this is going to happen. Time doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And the idea of time surfing, I like, because it gives you an understanding that we're human, that
Yeah.
there are, that feelings matter. When people, you hear
Yeah.
people say all the time, like,
Yeah.
f your feelings. No, feelings are
No.
what actually make us human, and they allow
Yes.
us to make decisions that allow us to adhere to our own values and the way that we want
Yes.
to make our way through the world and the way we want to show up in the world.
Sure, right. And also, I mean, here's the funny thing about feelings and getting back to our topic, which is, right, feelings can provide can cloud things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can cloud how we feel about things, can cloud our judgment and cloud things, but they also can provide clarity,
Yep.
right? They can, you know, that they can be the thing that allows us to go, "Oh, aha, I now understand this," or "I now I feel the direction this is going." Or you can get a gut feeling about something,
Mm-hmm.
right? About
Mm-hmm.
right? And follow that. And for many of us, you find that almost always it's right, right? That
Yeah.
gut feeling plays out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that gut feeling was part of what we needed for clarity, right?
Right. Right. Well,
And
think about reflection. The term reflection. When we talk
mhm,
about like reflecting, if you were to reflect into a pool of water that was
mhm.
filled with turbidity, and it was a rainy day, and you're not going to see clearly, right? But
Right, exactly.
if you're looking at something that is calm and serene, you're going to get the
Yeah,
reflection back, and it's going to be as close to the actual as possible, because again, it's not going to be
right.
perfect, right? And that's
Correct.
why, I
Correct.
mean, again, the feelings, to your point, if it in the moment it can stir stuff up, but if you sit with it,
Yeah.
then that the soil settles, all that stuff
Yeah.
happens, and then
Yeah.
you get a clearer picture of what's really going on. And that's
Yeah.
why, like, the biggest thing that people can do is, I think, if you're feeling that you lack clarity, is, and I'll link to this. Take a clarity day. Like, take a day
Yeah.
where you're like, I'm going to focus on, like, just getting clear. Because you could do that.
Mhm.
And the reason that it's not like take a clarity hour or whatever, it's not going to work that way. You need to give yourself not just time, but space. And when you do that,
Yeah.
then it will allow you to, again, move forward in a way that makes sense for you. No, with the full understanding that, again, you can only control the controllable, right? Yeah, as
Mhm.
John Cena has said, like, he says, control the
Mhm.
controllable. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. There's so many things going on in the world that you do not have any control over. You
Yeah.
do have control over reflection. You have control over, managing your attention. You can control, for the most part, most people can manage their energy. You can manage expectations, all those things. And when you have that understanding and you're clear about that,
Mm.
then navigating all of this stuff, no matter what the world throws at you, becomes
Mhm.
something you can deal with. It doesn't necessarily become easier, but there's a simplification to it.
Yes. Yes. Agreed completely. Uh,
Let's wrap things up. We've got
yeah.
I mean, I think that hopefully this was helpful. I mean, I know that it's so funny that the past 2 week each of us had kind of had us lean into this, because you sent this to me, and by the way, I
Yeah.
know Patrick's a night owl too. When you sent this to me,
It went
I'm
late at
like,
night.
it's like, wow. I mean, it's just starting to get really late for me. It's really late for Patrick. So to my fellow night owl, I ask, where can people keep up with what you're doing? And you've got a book as well. You got
Yeah.
several, actually.
Well, yeah. Yeah. The easiest way to get to all of my stuff is to go to patrickrhone.com, because that's the jumping off point, as it were, for everywhere else I actually am. But yeah, I think that's probably the easiest.
And as for me, I will do you a solid and say the productivity diet is available everywhere, including on Amazon.
Yes.
I'm actually doing
Yes.
a book reading this. Actually, as of this episode, I'll have done a local reading here in Victoria, and I am going to be doing a reading at in Victoria. If you're in the Victoria area, at the Indigo, which is basically like, for those that do not know what Indigo is, it's like a Barnes and Noble. In
Mm,
November. So
mm.
there's even though I'm working on my next book right now, and that's the writing process, the productivity diet is still out there going strong, and I'm talking about it wherever I can, including on this podcast. So until next time, thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time, where we will talk about trust, and I trust you'll be here to listen for
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and
that.
AI may come up as part of that discussion, who knows?
It may. Thanks, Patrick. We'll see you later.
Alright.